Hello there. Are you a bank that has always wanted to make vast sums of money by capitalizing on the economies of irresponsible, lazy countries? Look no further. I have a program that lays it out for you. It's called Help Create an Economic Crisis and Then Get Away with It. First, target the right country. If its people live along the Mediterranean Sea and have a history of evading taxes.
An estimated 20 to 30% of Greece's economy passes behind the tax inspector's back.
Corruption.
No one is innocent. Everyone's tried to cheat the government, but the biggest thieves are the politicians.
If they have an unsustainable public sector.
Greece is running in a difficult time because we have a big, fat public sector.
And a reputation of being irresponsible and lazy, even better.
Greece is are you kidding? A little Euro nation of lazy people that don't work. So good Greeks came here and started restaurants.
75% of Greeks retire by the age of 61.
You know that they'll just dig their own hole. Next, lend them as much money as they want. So just keep buying their bonds. Ignore all the red flags and forget about due diligence.
The person who is supposed to be more informed about the criteria of lending should be the guy who manages risk, which is the bank. And these are the guys that consistently did a bad job.
If a loan goes bad, then the debtor may be at fault in 12 different ways, and the creditor is clearly at fault for having made a mistake.
Please, verifying the accuracy of their financial statements is not your job. So just keep on lending.
A lot of the European banks were leveraged at 30 to 1 and 40 to 1, so they couldn't really be too critical of investment banks on Wall Street that were leveraged the same way.
And if your peers help the country mask its massive debt, good, because it allows you, the bank, to recklessly lend them even more money.
The German banks were swimming in cash, so they gave it easily, without requiring major explanations for what this money is used.
Was it difficult to obtain the money?
It was easy, very easy.
Next, stay calm when shit hits the fan and the country implodes in economic crisis. But don't worry, you, the bank, will always be covered. You will be bailed out because you're indispensable.
We weren't worried about them falling like dominoes. We were worried about Western banks falling like dominoes. Back in April of 2010, Western banks had $236 billion in Greek sovereign debt. French banks had $75 billion. German banks, U.S. banks. The world had too much of this junk on their books. The banks had it. It was not a country crisis. It was a bank crisis.
Exactly. The bailout will be portrayed as an economic rescue by lender countries to help their freeloading neighbor stay afloat.
Another work week begins in Germany, another country to be bailed out with hard-earned German cash. Germans are tired of being Europe's financial saviors.
Greece's creditors, chiefly Germany and France, have already bailed it out twice in the last 5 years, with loans of over $250 billion.
To rescue Greece from its self-inflicted wounds, crippling national debt, and the angry protest that broke out last week over an austerity plan to reduce it, the European Union approved a $100 billion loan. And the International Monetary Fund today put another $40 billion in the bailout package.
But here's the thing. It's actually a bailout for you, the bank, in everything but its name.
Often you speak of that Greece is, people say that Greece is being bailed out, Ireland is being bailed out. In reality, I think it was the bailout of the private creditors of Greece that we saw at the time.
I'm going to show you exactly why this was a backdoor bailout for the banks and it socialized the pain. And all of these banks, German, French, Italian, they all set up these mechanisms for shifting the burden, again, from themselves onto the European taxpayer.
True description from an economic point of view is very clear, and even from a political point of view, they were a bailout of the lenders. They were a bailout of the big banks who had not done their job in lending.
But don't worry, all the blame will fall on the debtor country.
It seems that we are the enemy of the European.
That's right.
Now, yesterday we did see a particularly provocative piece from the big German tabloid Bild, which initiated a campaign under the headline 9, no more billions for the greedy Greeks. So we are seeing an increasingly vocal opposition.
You've dragged us along, you've dragged this out, now you want more money. For goodness sake, when are the Greeks going to grow up?
No one will ever mention that irresponsible borrowers can never exist without irresponsible lenders, and that you, the bank, were their enablers.
Partly, it's understandable. They were very politically connected. They were in every government, and so they knew when they lent badly, their friends would bail them out, and they were perfectly correct.
The bankers have a lot of influence. You got a room full of bankers, and they seem like men of the world who really know what should be done, and what they think should be done, surprise, is they think banks should be guaranteed, and very hard to swim against them.
So in the worst case scenario, you'll be walking away with very few losses, while the lazy people of the debtor country bear all the burden.
What happened was that the large amount of resources lent by the fund, and even more by the European official sector, allowed these creditors, these private creditors of Greece and other crisis countries, to exit from their exposure at par, with no discount, without making concessions.
After years of paying for the mistakes of other EU countries, Germany in particular has insisted Greece feel the pain, imposing a series of quite draconian measures, including 4-year wage freezes, cuts of up to 30% for public sector jobs, and pensions frozen or cut altogether.
There was a lot in general of the profits were privatized and the risks were socialized, or the losses were socialized.
Now here are some final words of advice. Make sure the media is only telling your side of the story. The country is corrupt, they don't pay taxes and borrow recklessly, which of course is part of the story, but it's not the complete story.
It has to be presented to your people as helping the Greek people.
The struggling German worker who is more or less on the poverty line, even though he or she is working 8-10 hours a day, was told by its government that, we are cutting down on your hospitals, but we're giving 110 to 230 billion to the Greeks, when it wasn't true that the money was going to the Greeks. They lied to the Greek people and to the German people. They said to the Greek people, we have avoided bankruptcy, and they said to the German people that the Greeks, they were wayward, now we're going to punish them with austerity, but we will lend them the money because European solidarity demands that.
Don't panic, nobody listens to him. He's a crazy Marxist.
Can we continue like this, with a situation where private investors, private creditors generate enormous imbalances, create potential instability? And what will the official sector do? Will they be simply stepping in to bail out, not the countries in reality, but mostly the creditors? Something has to be done.
Nothing has to be done, because as long as you, the banks, follow this program, you will reap enormous rewards. And very few people will realize that what you are doing is actually bullshit. All right, everyone, I'm Elise. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll be following this video up with one about austerity, so watch out for that. And if you are in solidarity with the Greek people like I am, please share this video, comment below, let me know what you think, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time. Mwah, bitch.